Well, it's been a while since I showed you the cabin, and it's this spot where we left off. However, it was a little warmer back then, and it's a little cooler now. I believe it says 48 degrees Fahrenheit, about 7 degrees Celsius, which is okay for me. It's I just need little light gloves, but I know it's going to get colder. Pretty soon it's going to be below freezing during the day and the night, so I gotta work on this thing. Heat is a priority, and the wood stove, we gotta get it working. When I first bought this cabin, it came with this old rusty Monarch stove from the 30s. I'd been dying to fire it up since the beginning, but I needed to work on the rest of the renovation before it was worthy of a first test. Now, I did replace some of the stovepipe with new, and I have covered this wall with barn board, and the two kind of conflict as far as safety goes, because I don't want to have any issues with this getting too hot, perhaps catching fire, at least with a spark or something. I don't think it's going to catch fire just for being in. It's about, I think, 24 inches between the back of the stove and this, but it needs a little bit more protection. It needs a backing board, it needs a stove board, a heat shield, whatever you want to call it. This is a big piece of cement board. Oh boy, a little heavy because it's made of cement. This is a 3 by 5 foot sheet. Now, I think this is a little bit overkill. I don't think I need it this high up the wall. I think it's okay with the sides, but my first step is I'm just going to cut it down a little bit more manageable, and I don't want to cover up entirely, you know, my beautiful wall that I just made. I don't think I need any protection up in this area. It's just closer to the stove. So why don't I cut that? This is just a start. This is not the entire heat shield, but I'm going to cut that down, and I got to work on a way of fastening it onto the wall and give it additional heat protection. But number one, do some cutting. Got a mark, start cutting. And there's lots of tools that'll cut cement board. You know, especially electrical tools. There's a whole business on all the things you can buy to do things, but I like to keep it simple and use what I have available, not have to use energy. And a knife like this is not going to leave a huge amount of dust, especially in the air, so I don't need a mask. It's just a matter of scoring it a few times. There it goes. See, it did it on its own. Now I can just complete that cut. Okay. Well, here's my cement board all cut to size, and I've marked on the wall where the studs are and the position. So the next step is just to secure it. Now, that should be relatively easy. However, it's not, because there are rules. It can't just be secured right to the wall. It has to have space. It has to actually float off the wall. So you need spacers. You need about a 1-inch gap between the cement board and the wall. Now, there are actually kits you can buy, mounting kits for stove board. I just don't have one. And I can't use the things I'd normally use, like a piece of wood or plastic or something like that, because they are susceptible to heat. You need something that's not going to catch fire and is not going to be affected by the heat of the stove. So I went to the local junk store and looked around, and here's what I found that might work. I've got a set of sockets, you know, from socket wrenches. And because nobody uses metric, they just throw them out. There's a whole pile of metric ones, which is perfect for me. Quarter each, cost me $2. Those will be my spacers. So all I have to do is I've got some wood screws. They're 3.5 inches long, and I've got a fender washer. So drill a hole, put those through. There's my spacer. See, even has a convenient hole in the middle. And then screw it into the wall, and there's enough there that it'll go right through these boards and right onto the studs. Simple concept. I think it'll work, but I won't know till I get out my drill. Well, that's there, nice and secure, ain't going anywhere, but it's not a complete heat shield because the cement board does absorb heat, which is good, protects the wall behind, but it does not deflect the heat. You also need something to deflect the heat back into this room. And I think I know the perfect material, and I've got it out back. When I originally started the renovation, I took all the siding off the cabin, really didn't like it, and hoped I'd be able to use it sometime in the future. Well, guess what? Metal roofing will make a really awesome heat deflector. And I think just these couple of small pieces should do it. Well, ain't that ugly? Fortunately, I'm not going to leave the paint on there anyway because the paint will catch fire. Paint has to be removed. Got a little bit of trimming, and see, I need that other little piece just to make up for the side. It should work. Definitely has that rustic feel, but it's going to be even more rustic looking because I have to remove the paint. And that's where the fun starts, because the way I got to remove it is with fire.
I used a propane torch outdoors to burn off the protective coating of the metal roofing. I was really surprised at how long it took before it reacted to the flame.
Well, I did a little test on the small piece, and here's what I ended up with. Looks really cool and rustic. However, I've got a few problems with this, and some may be surprised that not all my ideas are brilliant and well conceived. This one is not. It's kind of a turkey, and I'm not going to do it, and here's why. When I heated up this panel, all the good springy steel properties have diminished because now it's very ductile. It's like lead. It's just a real floppy piece. I don't know if it's actually going to be any good for deflecting the heat anymore. But the main issue is it took a lot of heat to take this paint off, and I'm thinking that's probably because this is a high temperature paint in the first place, so it's probably okay. Taking it off was a lot of effort. I mean, this took me a long time to do this section, and it was definitely releasing toxic gases, so I'm not going to do this. That's not the way to do it. I'm going to go back to the original sheet, and instead of having the red side up, and the red side did seem to, catch the flame a little bit quicker, but I believe the green side, which looks a lot better anyway, will resist the flame. A spark is not going to go on here, and the paint is not going to catch fire. And the temperature, again, I just sort of showed that it's a high temperature before you get any compromise on either the sheet or the paint. So, next step, I've got this other piece that I already cut. Put it on about like that, put the screws in, and I'm getting really, really close to testing the stove.
I used number 12 sheet metal screws to fasten the metal to the cement board. Since the cement doesn't grab very well, you need a coarse thread for a secure hold.
Well, my Monarch number 24 circulator is almost ready to circulate again. I've got the wall board, the heat shield on the wall, and I haven't done much to the stove itself. I did change out the stove pipe. All I did with the stove is clean it out. There is no ash, no fire, nothing in there right now. It looks okay. I don't see any issues with it. I do not see any evidence of asbestos. I know that was a concern. Should be okay to fire up. The only thing I did change on this is this had 2 sheets of aluminum that they put in, somebody had put in. The original glass was missing. So I replaced that with mica sheets. So at least now I can see what's happening in there. It's not the same as like a big glamping stove where you can see the flame, but I'll at least see something, and that's good. Other things, I've got some tools, not much. I picked up a set of tongs at a junk store. I don't know, I probably paid like $1/4 for this. Looks good on the wall. And this implement of destruction was with it. I have no idea what it is, but it looks nasty, and I guess you gotta have one. Well, I've got one anyway, so that's all that counts. Now, as far as fuel goes, I do have real firewood from the trees on this property. There's a little bit of dry birch there and a little wet pine. Everything's been out and exposed, so I didn't keep a lot of it dry. That will happen. And I have a lot of building materials to get rid of. Tons of wood and shingles. So absolutely no shortage of stuff to burn. And I also have some paper that I've been saving. So it's certainly gonna start. But I'm going to give it another hour. It's getting close to sunset right now. I'd say in another hour it'll be dark, it'll be cold. That's why I've got another coat on, because it's already just a few degrees above freezing. But I'm getting excited. This is the first time in over a year since I've got this place that I think I can use this stove. Woohoo! The sun's gone down, it's getting colder, it's time to fire it up. Now, there were some safety precautions I have taken. For example, I do have a fire extinguisher, and I also have a big pail of water outside by the rain barrel. I did look through the hole up the flue and up the stovepipe, make sure there's no raccoons nesting in there. Didn't see anything, so it should be a clean path out through the chimney, and I think that's it. Oh, I got my cell phone in case it's an emergency, and I got my running shoes in case I have to get the hell out of here. I expect it's gonna smoke, but there's only one way to find out. Here we go. We got something going on here. Whoops, forgot one thing. Open up the inlet, let some air in. Now it's starting to go good. It was smoking a little bit there. Oh yeah, smoking a lot, but the fire is going.
It did smoke quite a bit at the beginning, but at least no critters came barreling out of the chimney cap.
Well, it's definitely making a crackle now, but it's still smoking a lot. Well, it's starting to catch, and by the way, the wood I'm using, the building materials, none of it's treated. It's just kiln dried, so it should be safe. Woo, yeah. Okay, I think the kindling's going good. So now I'm going to put a real fire log in here. Well, it is warming up. I think one of the things that I want to find out is how hot can the stove get, because if it gets too hot, then there's no point in me putting a lot of insulation in the upper area. I've got insulation on the main floor. That I think I had to have that. But whether or not I need it in the loft is another story, and this is where I'm going to find out. Right now it's 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You know, it's sweater temperature, just not t-shirt temperature. I brought the thermometer over here so I can read it. It's gone up a couple of degrees in the last 15 minutes, so not really phenomenal. I don't know. I thought it would go up a little quicker, but there is a large volume of space here. It's not like my little camper where when I put a tiny little wood stove in it, it heats up almost like instantly. So yeah, it takes a little bit of time. I gotta be patient. You know, it's kind of weird. Maybe it's because the wood is a little bit wet, but as it gets warmer, I also see my breath, which means there's a high humidity. And I look over on the wall there, and it's about 95% humidity. So yeah, you can see your breath, at least until it warms up. Warms up a little bit more, I'm not going to, but it's still only, well, about 12 degrees Celsius, which is about, I don't know, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. It's got a little ways to go, but it's getting there. Now I think one of the problems with this stove is not the stove, it's the operator. I really don't know how to use a 100-year-old stove, so I'm kind of winging it. What I have done is I've opened up the intake completely the last little while, and that's helped immensely. More airflow, more fire, getting warmer, which is good. And I've also played with the damper. I don't have it fully open right now. I've just got it tilted a little bit, and I think that's working. And of course, using the tongs and just moving the wood about is definitely working. It's definitely an improvement. I don't see my breath anymore, which is good. So now that I got to this point, I think I want to see if I could actually make it do something, perform. So what I have is my old kettle from the trailer and the last of my rain barrel water, because now that it's below freezing at night, I can't keep water in the rain barrel. So this is the last of it before I drain it in the morning. I'm kind of skeptical that it'll boil, but I'm going to try anyway. Why not?
After about an hour with a good flame, the kettle still didn't boil on the grill, so I removed the cover and placed it directly on the stove.
Well, 3 hours later, and I still haven't achieved your average room temperature of 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. I guess it's close. It's about 15 degrees Celsius, but I didn't attain regular t-shirt weather room temperature. So in that regards, I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping it was going to perform a little bit better. However, it's a learning curve, and I quite understand that. But I do have a stove. It is producing warmth, and I've set some benchmarks that now I know what it's capable of at this point in time, but maybe I can improve the stove, maybe I can improve the insulation. Certainly putting window covers over the windows would help a lot, like drapes, and perhaps insulating up in the loft. I don't know. I think I can improve on it, but at least this is a start, and I'm okay with it. Not 100% happy, but you know, I mean, I haven't been able to boil water, so maybe this just isn't the right type of stove. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but now I know.
Since I only invested a few dollars and a small amount of time on this test, it was merely a confirmation that I still have a lot more to do to make this cabin real cozy in the winter. But for now, I'll just sit back and relax, chill by the fire, and think of some warm thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video, and check out my others as well.